directions.
Hey guys, Happy New Year. It's your boy Vladis. Hey, what up? I got the little one asleep. I'm by myself. My wife is actually at her sister's house, so it's just me. So if the baby wakes up, I'm gonna have to dip out. Not end stream. I'll probably just have to like leave for a couple of minutes to like console her. But it's good to see everybody on stream. Oh man. Oh good. Where to begin? I mean, for those of you guys who saw the State of Reaction or the State of Ashes of Creation react stream when I was watching Zybak's video, you probably already kind of know a little bit of these points, but I wanted to talk about a lot of the growing sentiment from the community at large. And there was something also pretty notable that happened today too. And let me see, so like Jamie made his video on the State of Ashes of Creation, Nice Gaming made his video on Ashes of Creation, and then of course Narc is gone. This is the very last video he is ever going to make on Ashes of Creation. And actually I'm going to turn off the music. I feel like this is not it's a very serious topic. I want to kind of play it into that kind of serious role a little bit. So yeah, the Skeleton Crew, but this game needs to be needs his full attention. Absolutely. And so the first thing, Phantom, my boy, what is going on, my dude? Good to see you, brother. Thank you so much for the sub again, dude. He's been subbed to my channel for like 17 months, dude. Thank you so much, dude. I really appreciate that kind of support. And this is why I probably need to be subbed more often, or I need to go live more often for my subs. And Meg, thank you so much, dude, for the sub as well. 11 months, holy shit. Yeah. So let's what subject should I cover first? Let me address the Narc stuff. I don't really like to talk about him, but all I will say about him is that he's not leaving. As an MMO player, how many times did you say that you were going to quit an MMO and you didn't? I've played WoW for 17 years. I said I quit World of Warcraft probably like 17 times, and yet I go back. So, I mean, we're all kind of hypocrites in that, because I say, oh, I'm going to quit. This expansion sucks. I'm quitting World of Warcraft for good. And then, of course, the next patch comes out, the next expansion comes out, and I have people like Warrior being like, bro, are you going to play WoW with me? And I'm like, nah, dude, I quit that game. That game's dead to me. And then, of course, you know, your friends always lure you back in, get you in its clutches. And so, Narc's not going to leave. I mean, he's not going to be gone. And I think it's good that he took a break. I think he needs to go back to the things he's passionate about. And clearly his passion wasn't in Ashes of Creation. So I think he needs to go back and recharge his batteries, you know, do whatever he has to do, but he's going to come back. That's just how we all are as MMO players. We say we're going to quit. He ain't going to quit. So that's all I'll say about that. The state of Ashes of Creation right now, the biggest mistake, the absolute biggest mistake that I think Intrepid did was adhering to this December 20th date for phase 2. That was the most biggest mistake. And I understand they're not wanting to delay, but this would have been the best delay possible in keeping phase 1 up until January 6th, you know, whatever. And then phase 2 can start, you know, January 10th or whatever the case is, right? Like the next time they take the servers down, they get that break. And then the first weekend we start back at phase 2. And the reason why I say this is because, you know, I knew Steven was going to probably give his people a break for the holidays, and it made sense to me for them to delay. I'm like, it's a no-brainer, like, you know. And again, I just was, for anybody who was watching me, I was telling people, because they would say like, oh, phase 2 is gonna start on the 20th, and I was like, you know, because I was just thinking, I was waiting, literally waiting for them to announce, yeah, guys, phase 2, that's not happening until, you know, like, you know, it's not gonna be December 20th like we hoped. It's gonna be sometime in January. And I would have been fine with that, to be honest with you. The end of phase 1 was actually going well. I mean, people were quitting because, of course, we were just waiting until phase 2. But the other thing, and this is something Jamie said in his video, and I kind of agree, is that the people that bought into phase 2, this was their experience, their first time experience playing the game. And I think first impressions are important. You know what I mean? And if your team wasn't ready to deliver on certain things that were supposed to be out at the first, you know, on the first day of phase 2, it just makes sense to delay it, right? Phase 2 hasn't happened yet. No, that's what I mean. Like it just makes sense to make it feel like we're in phase 2, other than just feeling like we're an extension of phase 1, right? Yeah, it's funny, since if they delayed it, people will shit on them because they don't stick to the roadmap and you can't trust them. And now the stick to the roadmap and people shit on them for having vacations. So for me, I don't shit on them for making good decisions. And sometimes it is a good decision to delay. And this is why I think because I remember Steven saying that this was going to be a good test for their CS team, and them putting phase 2 on the 20th. But again, the amount of issues that were coming up, and then again, I admire Steven for literally being up Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, putting stuff in the Discord, being in game, you know, doing stuff in game. There are stories that I've heard of Steven actually putting people to level 1, deleting their characters, like all this other stuff at Christmas. You know what I mean? Like, he's doing like what he can. But I would say this was probably the biggest mistake that Intrepid made, was starting phase 2 on December 20th. Biggest mistake. So let's go into the other big thing that's also been happening right now. And this is the dupes, and this is the exploiting and Carfin, and just in other areas. So let me see, as someone who was in his guild in Discord, the majority of them are in a cult echo chamber. As soon as he said he was done with the game, Discord went Ashes Who alongside him. Oh yeah, I mean, I think every content creator has kind of like a cult of personality. I would hope the people that watch me like just have their own opinion. We don't always have to agree, you know, and I think it's actually healthier for us to have disagreements from time to time. I think that's very important. Shadow Phoenix, thank you so much for the follow, man. Thank you. But inevitably what ends up happening is that you do watch people that you do tend to agree with more often, right? But there's gonna be these things that I'm gonna say that are gonna be wrong, inaccurate, or just and what I say is just not what you have as your opinion. I think all that stuff, and this is why I banned only one person from my channel, one. And it's not because they disagreed with me, it's because they literally were talking shit to one of my people. You can talk shit to me all you want, and we can disagree, but as soon as you start talking shit to my people, you're gone. That's it. But anyway, so this is the thing too, and I want to share, I am very passionate about this particular subject when it comes to duping and exploits and everything like that. And so I want to just play for people maybe that haven't watched. So let's watch this. This is my interview with Steven. Let me see, probably one more question. And I'm really excited how you're going to answer this. And you've answered this question before, but I really wanted to kind of hammer this home because I think it's really important to the overall design and the kind of sanctity of Ashes. Most other gaming companies, when it comes to breaking TOS, just literally suspend players for buying third-party gold. When it comes to botting the game knowingly or doing something stupid, exploiting. Can you confirm to players that Intrepid is going to take this heavy-handed approach and just permaban people that are knowingly doing shady crap?
Yeah. Well, I think this goes back to, you know, part of why I started Intrepid.
Yeah.
However, the reason that part of the reason why I started Intrepid was by scumming monetization practices on the other side of that.
Absolutely.
But in part also it was because the games that I played in, you almost had to break the rules to stay competitive with everyone else because everyone was breaking the rules.
Exactly.
Right? All of the top players were allowed to break the rules. There was no enforcement, either because the company didn't want to invest or mitigate their revenue or, whatever reason that existed. No. It created a really toxic atmosphere of who can outdo the other side in essentially breaking the rules. Now, in that scenario, I would always win, of course. But wouldn't it be nice if there was some integrity in the player performance that was embraced by the company and executed on by the company?
Yeah, exactly.
And that is part of our mission statement, which is, hey, what matters most in any MMO, whether you're a risk versus reward MMO, whether you're an everybody gets a trophy MMO, regardless of whatever the deal is that you protect the integrity of the player activity. And the player activity is what should be driving the in-game market, is what should be driving the in-game economy. Like, these things are paramount in making sure that players feel comfortable logging in each day and exerting effort to achieve whatever they're achieving.
Yeah.
So that is a central focus that, you know, we will be taking forward with us when we talk about how to enforce our rules. Right. And I think that even now we utilize that even during testing. Let's just say there have been some players which have been disinvited to the testing.
I think you're not going to get rid of sellers. My thing is you got to scare the shit out of buyers. If you scare the shit out of buyers. So yeah, I go on to say some more stuff, but and then Steven did the whole massive deletion of characters, right? So let's go back here. So we know Steven wants to hold the integrity of the community, but here's another thing. And someone said it in chat earlier. Shit, there's gonna be an ad, but I'm gonna snooze it. I can only snooze 2 more times and then it's gonna be playing no matter what. So here's the real deal. We know that there are certain guilds and certain people that have been exploiting very often. And some of them are PI testers. Some of them that have been playing this game for a long time. So what comes with a permaban? That means everything on the account is permanently inaccessible. Like you've lost it. Your characters, but not only your characters. You also have to keep in mind that these PI testers have been around since 2017. They've bought cosmetic packs, tons of them, thousands of dollars worth of cosmetic packs. Once an account is permanently banned, they don't have access to any of the cosmetics they have bought with that account. The other thing that I've heard is that a lot of these people that have been doing these exploits and dupes and whatever have second accounts. They've bought second accounts because if Steven or Intrepid were to ever ban their main account, they have a backup account that they could play on. Now, I hope that whenever Intrepid bans an account, that there's certain parameters that they can look at, whether it's credit card numbers, whether it's addresses, whether it's whatever numerical things that they could figure out that says, oh, this account and this account seem to be the same person. This account is banned and this person is banned. So now we're going to ban them on their second account. I hope that there is something like that. So with all that being said, these PI testers, these PI people that have purchased thousands of dollars, and mind you, to be in Phoenix Initiative, you need to have purchased a $2,500 package to even be in PI. Okay. Which also comes with its variety of, things, just within itself. Let me see. I would say the more elegant solution is to delete their characters and stop their access to Alpha Phase 2. Let them back in Alpha Phase 3. No, I do not agree with that at all. The fact remains is the warning has already been given. The whole post, that Steven, if we go back up and we scroll for a little bit. So, give me 1 second. So the reason why I don't agree with this is because Steven has already given the warning to not do the things that they said that they were going to do. And we're all adults, okay? We're not kindergarteners. This isn't a 1, 2, 3 strikes you're out. This is, you do this stuff the next time you're done. That's what I felt like this warning was way back when. And I feel like if they do anything less than that, you're guarding people at this point. You're literally guarding people. And so give me 1 second. I've been scrolling up for a while, but golly, do they post a lot in the news channel. Okay, right here. So let's go here. All right. All right. So if we grow, and you know, we all know this post, right? This is the post that Steven opened up with, right? This is, you know, and again, he says this at the bottom. Let this serve as a warning and take it for someone who themselves has been banned from games. Ashes will be different, so don't partake. Instead, report it and play safe, my friends. This is the warning. This whole message here about duping or doing shit in the game. You guys are adults. They know what they're doing is wrong. And again, I've said this before, if you've watched my streams, people that do that think they are smarter and better than the developers. That I can get away with this. You're not going to do anything, you know? And I just don't think that is the kind of emboldenment that these people need to have in Ashes. And the correct course of action should only be permanent bans. And these are the only people that should be permanently banned is the people that haven't gotten the warning. But let's just be real. Steven's never given me a warning. Like personally, he's never reached out to my account and says, Vlad, you've been doing some shady shit. However, I have been given a warning. The warning's right here. Every single one of us in chat right now has had a warning. This was it. This was the warning because he said so in the very last paragraph. So I've been warned. I've never done anything in Ashes. I've never done any kind of an exploit, a dupe, anything like that. I've actually reported them. I've simulated them. I've been able to replicate them and send that over to Intrepid. But I've never done it in a very malicious way because I know this is wrong. So if I were to do anything at this point, my account should be permanently banned. I was given a warning. Now, the accounts that are flagged that have already duped the first time should be permanently banned, in my opinion. Going forward, this is why, again, when I go back and I talk to Steven, being heavy-handed is the only approach these people understand. And it's the only way you're going to scare the shit out of people from doing it in the future. Because if your company is known for being light-handed, they're going to try, you give them an inch, they're going to go a mile. Like they're going to go as long as they can. That's how these people are. And this is why I think it's very important for permanent bans to exist in this game. Because again, people are trying to play this game as if it is a released game because there's certain data that Intrepid needs to gather if we're trying to act like this is a real game, and it's not. But that's the data they need to make the release of this game the best possible release we can make it for. Okay? And so I've always been this person to advocate for permanent shit because I want Ashes to be a game where everybody is doing and earning and grinding the same way I am. Everybody's doing that. Like if you see someone in a legendary piece of gear or in a really high piece of like, you know, they did something really epic in the game to deserve that. I don't want to question every single time someone has a legendary or multiple legendaries. Like, well, what shady shit did they do to earn that? Like, I don't want to think that way in Ashes. You know what I mean? I just want to believe that everything they earned was legitimate because Ashes is super heavy handed at, you know, banning people, like permanently banning people for fucking up. T Flash 3040, thank you so much for the follow, man. Thank you. So let me see. Only if they are willing to report the exploit, several of these groups do everything they can to keep it hidden. No, of course they do. Of course they do. But this is the important part of it being a communal and a community-based game, is if you're going to Carfin or if you're going to Citadel of the Steel Bloom and you see some shady shit happening, message someone. I don't care if it's adding Steven on Discord, adding Fupo, adding Roshan, Margaret, whoever it is. You have the capacity to message someone that can actually deal with this. Now, I believe that every single person that has been doing, or guilds that have been doing those exploits, will be dealt with. I really do. And it's going to be up to Steven, and we'll see. Like, again, we will see. But I think right now is that I think, and this might not be in a popular opinion, but Vaseline, when it comes to nodes, is not in the game yet. We all know Steven had to literally manually level these nodes to level 3 and then lock them. I also feel, and this might be a very shitty thing to say or to hear, is that I think another wipe is inevitable. And I don't know if Steven or the team wants to wait for this wipe, maybe when the Rogue releases, or maybe when it's close to the Rogue, maybe sometime in February. But in order to get the proper data of Vaseline and all that stuff for nodes, and a certain node hit tier 4 or whatever the case is, we got to start back from ground zero. You know, we got to kind of start back again. And I know they always said, oh, we're not going to try to wipe or whatever, but I every time I hear that, it's like they want to try to not wipe, when there are things that are hindering actual practices of good data. Not wiping is going to give them bad data. I'm just going to say that right now. You put in Vaseline after every node is level 3. Now, when gear, and we're all like, now there's people level 25 and everything like that, you're going to get bad data. You're just not going to get the good data that we're going to need for the live environment game. So, let me see, it would make sense to ban till next phase, since it's an alpha 2, and give some mercy, but also send some measures that are very serious. Gutscore, I completely disagree. No mercy needs to be given. I'm sorry. We're all adults. The warning and the mercy was given when you got your character deleted. They didn't ban your account. Like, that was mercy. Mercy was already given. A warning was already given. These people know what they're doing is wrong. It's not like, oh, I was in what's that one area that people have been duping, or not duping, but exploiting, where the events, it's the Minotaur area with the circle and the pillars. Blanking on the name, but people are still there creating hardware macros to not, go offline to get experience. People are still doing that today. My buddy Warrior was out still killing those people. Richie was out killing those people. Like, I'm sorry, dude. Like, we're all adults. Like, what, like, when I was at my job in Walgreens, there was a guy who did something really terrible. And guess what he did? He took money from the vault, not the register, our vault in the back room. And he was given grace because he was a good worker. He was, a good person. People would never expected him unless we didn't see the footage. We would never have believed it. And my manager talked with him, and he was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'll never do that again. Gave some sob story about his mom and, some medical stuff or whatever. And we kind of all understood. Guess what he did not even 2 nights later? He tried to take even more money from the vault. You know what I mean? And he ended up getting fired. It's like, bro, like, I'm telling you, you give these people an inch, they take a mile. That's just how these people are. They are emotionally manipulating. They always want to get what they want. And so I've always been an advocate to just ban these people from the game. Ban them. Because once an exploiter, always an exploiter, in my opinion. You're doing something shitty in the game now. Why am I just going to temporarily or suspend you so you can come do shady shit later when more of the game is online, when there's actually higher stakes? Why would I bring that person back? That, in my opinion, makes absolutely no sense. that's why I think a permanent ban is the only way out. It's the only avenue. And believe me, as someone who's super passionate about this game, I would be insanely disappointed if I heard anything less from Steven. If Steven comes out with another huge wall of text and I don't see anything that says permanently banned, I'm going to be disappointed. Because then now everything that he mentioned in my interview with him, I feel like that trust is gone. Because let me also say this, the people that are in PI, Steven has had a relationship with these people for years, for many, 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 many years. And I know it sucks to like ban people that you feel like you're friends with, right? That you feel like, you know, they were up or testing for 10 hours, 12 hours on a shitty, on like a shittily made system or whatever, right? Like, and you're just like, you have to have them test this stuff. And you feel bad because it's like, oh, I know this must be such a slog for them. But no one forced them to be there. Like, they paid money to help fund this game. You know what I mean? Like, again, we're all adults. And I know, coming at it from a friend's perspective, like, it has to feel really bad to be like, man, I have to ban this person. But ask yourself this question. If they're truly your friend, why are they exploiting in the game you made? That's not something a friend would do. So were they really ever your friend? Or were they only acting as your friend to earn something or to try to get something from you? That's how I see it, man. I'm just going to be real. Like, that's how I see it. So all these people, and believe me, I've been sent screenshots of people in Carfin. I've been sent screenshots of people in Citadel of Steel Bloom. And, you know, in those same screenshots, and I always ask people when they send me screenshots, has this been sent to someone, like someone from Intrepid? And they're like, yes, I just wanted to show you. And I'm like, oh, yeah, no, I know. Like, I know, like, again, like, I'm a content creator. People reach out to me all the time. Like, I see these things. But the point still stands, is that you need to just permanently ban those people. Let me see. I have a big feeling a big punishment wave is coming. I hope so, because I think this also has been kind of spoiling a lot of the phase 2 people that purchased phase 2 for $110. I've talked to only one person. Now, he said that his experience was actually pretty good. Like, even though there was a shit ton of people on the server was kind of wonky at times, he's had a great time. You know what I mean? And I know it's a very anecdotal experience. I'm not saying that, you know, it was a great time for everybody. I know, especially that first week, the first couple of days, I would say the first couple of days of phase 2 was really rough for a lot of people. I'm not going to disregard that at all, because it was for certain people. I've people were given, the Air 32, and then there was like not being able to log into the launcher at all. They had to repair it, and again, there was just so much stuff that was happening. And not to mention the first day, right, when the live stream was happening, what happened to everybody? 1% of the people got in, 99% couldn't even log in, and then people were asking to just wipe it. Like, you know, when the server gets back up and running, just wipe it, make everyone start fresh, and they did. Like, they listened, which was great. But I think, again, just being super heavy-handed is a good thing. Okay, so we mentioned all that. Permanently ban those people, Steven. That's the only option. Content. This is the other huge thing of why people haven't felt like we're in phase 2. Because the only new content is the Befallen Forge dungeon. Honestly, the dungeon's great. It looks phenomenal. It looks really good. It's not even done yet, and it looks really, really, really good. There's been more quests, there's been more events, but it just feels like the same. Treasure maps are hit and miss. There's some treasure maps that don't work at all. There's some that are bugged, and then there's some that do work. And we all know where to test, right? This is all, you know, for testing purposes, we all get that, but it's just the feeling of we're in a whole new phase. It doesn't capture that, because the only new thing is a thing you do at level 25. So it's basically end game max level content. And there doesn't feel like you're doing the same grind. You're going to Coral Loach, you're going to Highwayman Hills, you're going to Citadel of the Steel Bloom. You're just doing the same things you were doing in phase 1. So, and when it comes to the economy doesn't have the talent tree professions, right? We don't have Vaseline. There's a lot of the node systems. And again, what is phase 2 testing for? Nodes. We are testing, like, the whole focus on phase 1 was server stability. The whole point of phase 2 is for nodes. We got to get Vaseline. We got to get nodes to level 4. We got to get, like, buildings, like all the stuff that nodes has, mayoral commissions, policies, mandates. We have freeholds. It's another bit of content that is basically end game content. But right now in freeholds, you can't really do anything. Like what we saw in the freehold stuff is not all implemented into what you got in the freeholds now. And again, just to go back to what I said earlier, it was just wise in general to delay phase 2 until January. Because, not saying there was an expectation, because even then, Margaret and Steven has said in the live streams, whenever they did their roadmap of phase 2, or I'm sorry, roadmap for Alpha 2, excuse me, you know, Margaret said that Alpha 2, or the phases, what you see here is not all going to be in day 1 of the phase. We all knew this, right? Like, and when I asked Steven in this interview here about the Rogue, Steven had some bad news, right? He said Rogue will not make it first day of phase 2. He says that will probably come later. He said the first major patch, which we'll see. I don't think it's gonna be the first major patch, to be honest. But we all knew that there were but you had to at least have certain things, some things. And I just feel like adding the forge, adding freeholds, which was at a very foundational base level, and I really don't even count that as content. It just feels like phase 1. It doesn't feel like another phase. This phase is so bad. I feel sorry for anyone who bought into this phase. I think buying into this phase, you just have a very you're misinterpreted into what this phase, or what's new, right? All of the weapons are not in phase 2 yet. Like, if we go look at, actually, I think one of my people sent it to me. Well, here, let me go over here real quick. Because I don't want to go in my Discord and try to rummage it out. So let's... Hold on. Ashes of Creation roadmap.
As far as accounts go.
Adding additional.
Okay. So let's go here. All right. So since Sand Squall Desert expanded, we basically got, but not really. Tropics, not yet. 2 unique node layouts. I have not seen any unique. All of them are still copy pasted. I don't think that's in the game yet. 4 levels, not in the game. Node sieges, not in yet. Vassalship, not in yet. Node death, not in yet. Additional mayoral commissions, I honestly do not know if that's in just yet. Relics, not in yet. Freeholds, that did get in, but we already talked about that. Additional service buildings, I honestly do not know if this is something. Economic election type, I don't think that's in yet either, which is just like bidding. It's a silent auction for mayorship. Now, we did get the Valoon and we did get the Dunir, right? I don't count this as content, right? So this isn't content. We haven't gotten the Rogue yet, so 1 archetype, not in yet. 4 plus weapons, all of these are not in yet. Not in yet. Temporary, not in yet. Gems and sockets, not in yet. Gear Ascension, not in yet. Repair kits, not in yet. Artisanship skill trees, not in yet. Animal husbandry breeding, is that in the game? I haven't not messed with animal husbandry at all, but is the animal husbandry breeding in? I don't think it is, but okay, Mag said no. Okay, so it's not in yet. Party gathering, I don't think that's in yet either. There's a vendor for it. Okay, just hunting. Player shops. Now, this is something that's been mixed received. I think the player shops was great to have, but how it's implemented needs a lot of work. Just tons and tons of work. Leaderboards, not in yet. Additional chat system functions, I would say that that's not in yet. Instance housing, not in yet. All right, content. All right, so here let's get down to the content. Story arcs for the Riverlands, not in yet. Sand Squall Desert, treasure maps, dynamic, all this, not in yet. Dynamic world dungeons, not in yet. NPC ambient behavior, I don't think that's in yet either. So if I would say 97% isn't in the start of phase 2, then how can this be labeled phase 2? Now, I understand, right? I get it that we're not going to be, first day, we're not going to have all the system, but to only have 3% of the entire roadmap on day 1, I don't think that's a good idea. Okay. Like, I think it would have been better to have pushed it, even if it was beyond early January, even if you say, hey, we actually need more time, so that way we feel like we're actually giving you a new phase, right? Because, and let me just be real for a second, right? Even if phase 1 or phase 2 at day 1 of phase 2 had the Sandswell Desert expanded, not the Vendigar Tropics, right? So this was a true expansion with the nodes and actual like buildings and it looking different. You can see more of it. We get that, right? There was one new unique node layout, right? One for day 1. We get 4 levels that we can actually go. We actually have Vaseline in the game day 1. We don't have no siege. We don't have no death. We have the additional mayor commissions. We don't have relics. We honestly don't even have freeholds. Just wait on the freeholds. I would just say don't day 1. If I was doing this is how I would do it. Don't put freeholds. Additional service building. I don't know how many additional there was going to be, but let's say there's 5 of them. Put out 2 for day 1. The economic election type, put that in day 1 as well. Let that be tested because you need that day 1, because if there's an economic note that levels, right, we need to have a mayor be elected. So we're going to have the scientific voting method, which is just popular vote. And then we have the economic voting method, which is silent auction. That needs to be in. Veilun and Dunir, that's already in. So that's kind of we all know that. But the rogue, I'm fine with it not being available day 1. That's fine. Now, I think day 1, you should have had at least scepters, 2-handed mace, and 2-handed axes in the game. Because rogue isn't in yet, it doesn't make sense to have dual-wielding daggers, as much as I would love to play with dual-wielding daggers as a fighter. I get it. I totally get it. But you need to have at least 3, if not 2, of these new weapons at day 1 of phase 2. Let me see. Siege vehicles, don't have them in the game yet. Tempering, I'm kind of mixed on this one. You could have had it day 1. I would be with or without it. It's fine. I think Gems of Socket is the same thing. I feel these two, I kind of feel the same way. Gear Ascension, I kind of like all these kind of feel the same way. Repair kits, you could have had repair kits day 1. Artisanship, now this is a big one right here. This one right here should have been day 1 of phase 2. The artisanship skill trees should have been in the game. It wasn't. Animal husbandry breeding, I'm fine with that being, outside of day 1. Party gathering, same thing there. Player shops. Now, player shops was fast tracked because if you remember, Steven says that we were going to fast track that. I don't think, in my opinion, player shops was supposed to be day 1 of phase 2. So I'm fine with it if they've actually delayed it further to actually give better support, because having 89 pages to rummage through in a node is not fun. Now, the search function makes it a little bit easier, but the search function can also be a little bit wonky as well. Leaderboards, you don't need their phase 1 or day 1. Additional chat system functions. I would have loved to have been there for day one, but if it wasn't, I would be okay. Instance housing, not a day one thing. So here's the big thing right here. Story arcs for Riverlands. I don't care if it was at least one arc for the Riverlands. If you were going to have because this is story arcs, plural, right? You should have at least had at least one arc that people can go through for the Riverlands to just test. Like, we're not asking you to test some crazy expanded thing, right? Like, we're giving you one arc for day one. Give us feedback on that. It would have been fine, right? Did they end up fixing the seasonal system? Like I said above, I do not think all the content being in day one is fine. However, the question if it becomes if all the phase 2 content is before promised at the start date. So seasons are still not fully in the game yet. Now, Steven has changed from like winter to autumn to spring and all that other stuff. But for the most part, I think they've only done that to circumvent certain node or server issues, because being in autumn or in spring was creating some issues. That's why we were in winter for so long, because those issues weren't arising at when it was in winter time. Has anyone checked if we had all the content that was showcased for phase 2, phase 1? No, we can actually double check that right now, because phase 1's right here. We'll do that after this. So I won't ever complain about anything until I give them the opportunity to fucking work. They demonstrated phase 1 of how they work and the pace they have. Absolutely. And again, this is why I was advocating and almost thinking like no brainer that a delay was inevitable. Like, you were going to get a delay. That's what it is. And I think it was just a mistake for them to have kept it to December 20th. So all that being said, what was in the game? You need at least one story arc. The treasure maps, I would have delayed it until they were at least working 90% of the time. I think right now people are very frustrated with treasure maps in general, but I get it. You know, it's all testing. We're here trying to like figure out the things that are right, things that are wrong, or whatever. Dynamic world dungeons. So this one right here, I don't think it would be fair to have this day one of phase 2. So I would be okay if they push that off, because this is a big deal right here. This is a huge deal. So I wouldn't want them to rush it just to day one. NPC ambient behavior, I honestly don't know what that means, to be honest with you. I think this is
waterfall.
I think this is just meaning the monsters maybe patrol, or instead of just standing static, maybe they have some kind of a behavior model to like do more than just standing at a particular like spawn point. I don't know. Maybe that's what it is. Let me see. They set their own deadline. They did. And I think it was a mistake. Let me see. It's still fine to critique them and hold them accountable. It's okay to be skeptical. Yeah. Again, I'm sure even Steven probably agrees. If he were to be in chat right now, he'd probably agree that phase 2 or starting phase 2 on December 20th was probably a mistake. You know what I mean? People, again, this is a green company. This is their first time making a game. There's a lot of issues. There's a lot of things that you're going to go through, growing pains, lack of knowledge, like a whole bunch of stuff. So I don't expect them to always get it right the first or second time. And how they did phase 1, let me also be very clear too. The cadence of updates and how quick they usually are at fixing or servicing the community was at an 11. If I were to give them a 1 out of 10, it'd be an 11, because they always handle their like the problems with the community. I think, again, the biggest issue that I think you've kind of seen Steven not really address yet, and I think it's because he wants to kind of do it in the same vein of how he did the warning, and that's probably going to come a little bit later once his team comes back. So here, give me 1 second, guys. I'm going to use the bathroom real quick, and then I'm going to come back and we'll talk about this. We'll talk about all the stuff in phase 1 real quick, okay? So give me 1 second. I'll play some music for you guys. Okay. Let me see. I do feel like Narc quitting over this was just for content or just being over dramatic. I think it's been pretty clear the game is a long way out. Oh yeah. I mean, if you've watched me for any stretch of time, when you've heard me initially, I would always say 2 to 3 years. Now I was saying 3 to 4 years. I know my boy Rive Genesis, another awesome content creator for Ashes, he thinks 5+ years we're out of this game. I think, again, I've always had an inkling that that was just going to be the case. Okay, so let's go in phase 1 real quick. All the things that were in phase 1. So we got 36 points of interest, day and night cycle, which we do have day and night cycle. 4 seasons, we do not have. I think we've seen winter, we've seen autumn, we've seen spring. I don't think we've seen summer. So we haven't gone all the, okay, we haven't done that. Dynamic world populations. I don't know what this means. Dynamic world populations. I think a lot of anything that I think says dynamic, I think isn't in the game. But when I look at dynamic reward tables, I'm just trying to figure out like what they mean by dungeons. Jibs, dude, what's going on, Jibs? Thank you for subbing to the YouTube, man. Thank you. Let me see, dynamic world pop, like wolves coming out at night, south of lion. Ah, okay. Different mobs in night and day. We have that. Gotcha. Okay. So we have that. Let me see, like the skeletons that come out at night that aren't there during the day. Gotcha. 1 grand dungeon, which I believe is Carfin. 4 pocket dungeons. So we have like the pocket dungeons, probably like Cephalian, Steel Bloom, Highwayman Hills, Oakenbane Keep, right? That's probably the 4 they're talking about. Let me see, 5 node locations to level 3. We got all those. Dynamic road leveling, provide buffs and advance in visual quality. Is this in the game? I don't know if the dynamic road leveling is in there. No, those are dungeons. Pocket dungeons are secret mini dungeons. Oh, okay. Sorry, I was thinking just like the points of interest on the map, like when it's like an actual point, like Ursine Caves or something like that. Okay, so that's not in. 4 service building plots, 5 default buildings. Do we have 4 service building plots? I thought there was 3. Yeah, roads were the same node 1 to 3. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too, because I'm like, I haven't seen the roads dynamically transform into like, you know, dirt to like asphalt or like, you know, just like change in any sort of way. So I haven't seen that in the game yet. Let me see, I think pocket dungeons are like those near Lineholt that on the ruined area with those goblins. No, apparently they're like actual like little secret pockets like in those other main areas. So okay. Let me see. 5 passive constructed buildings. We have that. Node currency and citizenship, we have that. 56 tax categories, I think we have those. I don't know if we have 56 of them, but I know we have the tax categories. We have mayorship, we have buy orders. We have the 25 player commodities. We got the mayor commission types. Let me see. We got 36 node resources. I'm pretty sure we got all the resources. We got the service building expansion voting. So we've got the races. We got the archetypes. I believe we have. Yeah, I believe we have all these weapons. Let me see. Flagging, lawless zones, corruption system, Guild Wars 2, Node Wars, caravan. Okay, so we have all that. Flying ground and water mounts. I believe we have all 3. Caravans. We got all the caravan stuff. We got rafts. We got the mail. We got the mail system. Player trading. Level 25 for artisan professions. Yeah, we got novice, apprentice, and thing. We got the 15 unique gathering tools. We got the gatherables. Surveying. Well, actually, surveying, does surveying even work? I don't think surveying works. All right. Fishing we have, hunting we have, processing, crafting, gear enchants we have, party and raid markers we have, chat we have, survey is bugged. Yeah, so we have it, but we don't. Item deconstruction and repair. I don't know if we have the item deconstruction. I know we can repair, which is going to the vendor and just hitting the anvil icon and your gear's repaired. 45 caravan components. I don't know if we have 45, but we do have the components to them. We do? Okay. Let me see. 146 unique pieces of gear. I can't really comment on that. The Node War God Spike event. Well, we haven't even had Node Wars. Right? There hasn't been a Node War yet. We have Node Wars? Oh, from Germany. I joined the stream a little late. Hey, well, good to see you, Blood Wolf. Happy New Year, by the way. Let me see. 149 story-driven quests and commissions. 111 no decon yet. Yeah, I was kind of thinking, I was like, I haven't seen anybody talk about deconstruction. I think they only count the number of greens and rarities because we do not have 160 plus pieces of gear items for sure. Yeah, I don't know if they're counting like gray, uncommon. I think they're counting any kind of gear in general. They're counting as a piece. So yeah. I don't even know if we have the 111 treasure maps. I can't really say we do or we don't. 16 unique public events, 149 story-driven quests and commissions, 3 world bosses. So as far as my knowledge, we got Firebrand, we got Tumok, and that's it. Right? Because I know we have the Scorpion, but the Scorpion in the desert is like level 50, isn't he? But he has no loot. Okay, so it's like we technically have a third, but not really, because he's level 50, isn't even level 25, and he has no loot table. So 75 unique enemy creatures, 280 plus unique NPC abilities and behaviors. So there is still content. Sorry, my baby's making some noises. All right, there's still content from phase 1. Okay, sorry. There's still content from phase 1 that is not still in the game, even in phase 2. So yeah, so in total we have 80% from phase 1 at least. No, for sure. And here's the thing. I'm not saying this like as a bash or anything like that. Like, making a game is hard. But here's the other fact as well. Gamers also don't care. The amount of people that I've talked to that has they're completely naive in how a game is made or how a game is, made from a company's perspective, or they don't care. They just see, this is what the game is, this is what you promised, and it's not here. What the fuck, right? And so this is where I think a lot of the negative sentiment comes in, and this is where the miscommunication from certain content creators when it comes to like the servicing of of the buildings, or this or that or whatever. Or like when we see the desert, right? And we see let's just be honest, right? So when we saw the desert like 2 years ago, like I remember talking this to Richie. I talked with this to like Roar or whatever. But like, I remember when I saw this video, I never thought for a second that this, like, I did for a second, but like as the video goes on, like when we see like the rhino, we see the freaking Snorse, which I love. I really want this mount to come out soon. And this is when I remember thinking, oh, this is just like a preview. Like, and what I mean a preview is that, so whenever you, like, have you done a project for like school or whatever, right? And you make like a volcano. You're not actually going to a volcano for your project. You just build like a fucking paper mache volcano. This is the paper mache volcano, right? It's an isolated, like, this is what we want from our desert, right? So, sorry, I shouldn't have paused it. And so this is when I remember seeing this right here. This right here I remember seeing, and I'm thinking to myself, oh yeah, so this is basically like, this is a very isolated piece of the desert. Like, meaning like it's not, this is not from the game. This is like a tech demo. This is what we hope the desert to be. Because if you're mean to tell me that the desert is going to be completely fucking empty for miles, that's not realistic, like, at all. All right, give me 1 second. I'm gonna see if my wife can handle my baby real quick. She just got home. 1 second. Okay. All right. What you said is perfectly fine. Problem is, Steven has been telling that the biomes were ready multiple times. His words, not mine. Can you give me a video that I can bring up real quick where he said that? Do you have like a time marker or a specific video where he says that the desert biome is done? If you do, can you send me like what video it is or whatever, and I can play it and we can watch it? Because I don't remember him saying that the desert biome is done or the tropics is done. I don't remember him saying that at all. So if you can like give me the proof that he said that, I'll play it right now on stream and we'll watch it together. But I think, again, there's a lot of people that are, yes, I remember him saying it 6+ times when I was, okay, well, if you remember, like, give me the video, give me where he said it, give me the live stream. Because I don't, what I also don't like is when people like put words in other people's mouths that isn't true. I'm not saying you're doing this, but I just don't like that in general. So I'd rather just hear the proof of him saying, oh yeah, the Sand Squall Desert is done, or we have the tropics done. It's just, that's not, you know, I don't think he said that, but I could be wrong too. So thinking what this is what you'll get in phase 2 of Alpha 2 is either stupid or delusional, or both. Well, again, when I remember seeing this, and this is the other bit of proof too. Look at this. There's no creatures here. There's nothing here but like a marker. Like, it's clearly unfinished. And you see every asset that you see, I can literally go in game right now and show you this asset. I can show you the tree assets. Like, a lot of the assets are in, like the scorpion assets. These assets I haven't seen yet. Those trees are in the game. You know what I mean? Like, they're there. But I don't remember Steven ever really recalling, like, even the Riverlands. The Riverlands isn't done. Like this, right? I'm sorry, like that right there. You mean to tell me that their vision of the desert is literally supposed to be vacant for miles and miles with a single thing? Like, let's think critically for a couple of minutes here. This preview is literally what it is. It's a preview. It's to show you like their vision of what the desert biome is going to be. Not, this is exactly 1-for-1 the desert we have in Ashes of Creation. This to me is probably a presentation that one of the developers gave to Steven, and they played this in a meeting, like 100%. Like, hey, like I'm in charge of the desert biome. This is my vision for the desert biome using our assets. It's literally what it is. Steven just posted on Reddit on a Reddit sub that desert wasn't finished 2 years ago. Well, yeah, and it's not finished now. So again, I don't know where people are getting in their heads that Steven has said that biomes have been done or finished. Because he's even stated, I remember him saying that the Riverlands isn't done. Because it isn't. The western part of the Riverlands, where New Ayla, Halcyon, like those areas, there's a lot to still be done in those areas. It doesn't make sense for him to say, oh yeah, Riverlands is 100% done. Like it's never going to change now. Like, no, there's still much to do actually in the Riverlands alone. And we've been in this biome the entire time. A Richter XV or XCVI. Thank you so much for the follow, man. Thank you. You see, he never said it, Narc did. Well, there you go. So my whole thing is that I don't mind playing the proof. If he said it, I will play the video, I will play the time marker, and we'll hear Steven say that together. I've been a content creator for this game for like 3 years, like since about 2021. And actually 2022. So about let's say about 2 years. But I've been in this community watching live streams since 2020. I have never heard him say that biomes were finished. Not once. And I think people took this preview and said, oh yeah, this is what the desert's going to look like in game. Like they just took, like they went into the desert biome and they shot this footage. No. Like that, like, you mean to tell me that, like, you just have empty desert and all you have is this one thing in there? And again, like, you go look at the desert right now and it's just, there's nothing there for miles, right? There's still a lot to be done in those things. I don't even think the verticality on the desert is even done, right? There's so much to do. And you also have to understand this as well. We are not playing the most up-to-date build of Ashes of Creation. We are probably playing like 7 builds behind. I think people forget that as well. I think people look at what we're doing and what we're playing as like, oh, this is all Intrepid has to offer right now. No, not even close. Like, not even a little bit. And it's like when I say something like this, like, I know people kind of don't treat me seriously because, of course, 1, I'm not a game developer, and 2, I'm just some fucking guy on the internet that's a gamer, right? But this is why I love hearing people like Pirate Software talk about Ashes of Creation, because he literally has been saying the same shit I've been saying. And he has the credibility because he's been a developer for almost 20 plus years, and he's excited about Ashes of Creation, and he has yet to even fucking talk negative about it because he knows how hard it is to make a fucking MMO. It is hard. You need a fucking SEAL Team 6 group of people that have been in the industry for a long time, that have the specific niche knowledge of MMO systems, which many developers do not have because they've worked on RPGs or they worked on like just other systems or other games in general. So again, like I look at this footage, and again, looking behind them, which is literally empty desert, completely void of anything else. And I was going to think to myself, oh, they're in the desert biome? Like, what? Like, again, you just think critically for a couple of minutes and you'll come to the same conclusion. Like, this was just a preview of what's to come. And again, every asset that you see is in the game. This is the actual Scorpion asset, right? Like, this is, again, what you see. Like, I heard people saying that people were comparing Ashes of Creation to Chronicles of Valeria. How could you even make that comparison? Chronicles of Illyria, when it showed its demo of its game and the thing that people actually played was not even in the same realm of the preview. Like, it wasn't even the same game. Now, if Ashes of Creation, seen through the live streams for many years, seen how the fighter, how the cleric, how the tank, how the bard, and then we get into the game in Alpha 2, and the graphics are not even the same. The abilities are not even the same. Everything we saw from live streams is completely not what it was in the actual game. Then I would have been like, oh my God, they just pulled a bait and switch on us. But that's not even what the fuck happened. So I don't understand where you can even correlate the two. Every ability that I saw on the fighter is 1-for-1 in the game. Like, there's like, I don't get it. Like, I literally don't understand where people are coming from. So I don't understand this whole thing of like the desert doesn't exist. Well, of course it didn't exist. They had to make it, you know? Let me see. Quiet Pills 8055. Thank you so much for the follow, man. Thank you. And Little Grave, thank you so much as well. I don't know if I said that earlier, but thank you so much for the follow as well. Hope you guys are enjoying the stream so far. So, and I understand, you know, we'll go and watch videos on YouTube of like, oh, I made like let's do it right now. Like I made an Unreal game in whatever. Let's just see what comes up, right? And you'll see like people making a game like, oh, I made a game in Unreal Engine in a day or whatever, right? And I understand that we've gotten very used to people. And as far as like us being like on YouTube 24/7, I'm on YouTube a lot. Like, I love YouTube. Like Kyrian, dude, thank you so much for the sub. Thank you so much for the sub on Twitch. Thank you. As I said, it's delusional to see and think that that will come live day one. Have enjoyed your conversation as I grind. I appreciate your points. No, I appreciate you joining the stream, man, and hearing me ramble basically. But my whole point is that I know people think it's easy to create a biome, and in Unreal Engine, it kind of is, especially with a lot of its AI tools, right? But Intrepid is literally like hand making a lot of their shit. Like, they just are. Like, every asset they're making their own. They're not just buying Unreal Engine assets from the store and plopping them into the game. Like, they're making trees, they're making like everything that you see in the game is literally made by an artist at Intrepid. They're not just going into Unreal Engine's marketplace and buying assets and then plopping them into the game. That's not what they're doing. Let me see. Understanding your outrage with stupid internet people not knowing how difficult game dev is or how long it will take. Would you be willing to switch gears to constructive criticism? Oh, dude, yeah. Like, so here's my thing. Every class that I've heard people talk about, my favorite class, the fighter, is super duper one-dimensional. I've been saying this, like, I want there to be multiple play styles, and I don't think that serves for the augment system to do by itself. There needs to be multiple play styles available to people right at like level 1. And what I mean by that is you probably have like a main ability that you play off of, right? So this main ability that you push can play your class in a completely unique way. This other main ability will play it in another unique way. And then you'll have these other abilities like Maim or, you know, Lethal Blow or whatever to complement its main ability. But I that's what I want. Like, I want there to be, like, right now I feel like every class has one build, very one-dimensional, and there's just nothing to play with. You just play with the abilities because every ability is just, oh, this one does AoE, this one's a bleed, this one's this. It's boring. It's literally completely boring. Let me see. How is that different to 99% of other MMO studios that don't buy assets? No, it's not saying. So for me, what I'm trying to tell people is that it takes time. It takes time to cultivate the world that you're playing in. It's not just going to be some Unreal Engine mess of AI, you know, doing, what is it? because this is the video that comes to mind real quick. Because this is what people think that Intrepid is doing. Right? So they think that the Riverlands is just being artificially generated by Intrepid. They're just doing that. Like, no, every single thing that they're doing is being handmade. Oh my God, you're not even seeing what I'm seeing because I'm an idiot. Like when you're going and watching shit like this, like this is what people think Intrepid is doing. They're just like artificially using AI to like dynamically create the Riverlands or dynamically creating the desert. It's like, I'm sure that there's going to be tools like Landform or that they've created that's going to help them do land management or land creation better. But they're not just relying solely off of AI. Like everything has to be handmade, like at the end of the day. And if you look at the attention to detail in the Riverlands, it's crazy. It's literally crazy. But the other thing that right now, I think a lot of the UI stuff needs a lot of love. Oh my God. The text, we've all agreed from since phase 1, the text needs to be bigger. Quests. Quest right now, when I go and look at like a guy like in the middle of nowhere that has a quest for me, even if I read the quest or if I feel like I have no direction as to how to do a quest. There's some quests that have clear markers as to like, you go over here, you go over there, or you do whatever. But the more lost you are at doing quests, the more people are just going to wait for a YouTube video or wait for a website to tell them how to do it. And so I understand there's a subset of people that like people feeling lost or like people to feel like, oh, well, you got to read the quest. It's like, well, I've read every quest that I've come across, and some of them you don't have any inkling as to like where a person is, where a thing is, where an item is, and it's just going to stay in your log. And now because you wanted to go questing, well, now you got to either skip that quest because you don't know how to do it or know where to go. And it feels bad. Like questing in Ashes just kind of feels bad right now, at least in my opinion. You may disagree with that, but I think questing in general feels bad. Commissions, I think, feel bad. I don't know if it needs like a 24-hour marker or like a 24-hour cooldown on them to make them to feel a little bit more rewarding. But I don't know. At least in my opinion, the only commissions that I've been doing is the gathering commissions, because if I'm going to go and pick herbs, I might as well just pick up some of the herbing commissions and get some more experience out of that. And those feel great. But I feel like some of the more general commissions just feel a way like lackluster, you know? So that's a bit of thing. But I think class design to me, it just feels very bad. Clerics and, clerics and tanks especially, I think need the most love. I've been saying this for a long time, but clerics and tanks need different play styles. Like if you are a healer that loves hot healing, then you need to create, or Intrepid needs to create the tools necessary for you to be a hot healer in Ashes. Or if you are a throughput healer, if you are a combat healer, right? You like to do melee damage and be in the fray and be in the fight. Like you need to create that for people. You need to create abilities for people like that. I know people were talking earlier about Ranger and wanting melee abilities, right? So if you wanted to be a melee Ranger, that is not in the game. Like everything you do in a Ranger is just at range, right? So if you're going to do those things, I don't know if relying solely on the augment system to do those different playstyles is the right approach, because then you're forcing players from 1 to 25 to play in a very set way, and 1 to 25 can be a long time for people. Like I've literally seen people right now that are level 19 that have been playing off and on since the 20th, and they're barely they're not even at 25 yet. Now you have all the sweaties and everything like that going all crazy, but it takes a long time to level in this game. So you're forcing everybody from 1 to 25 play in a very one-dimensional and, may I even say, not fun way, to then be like, oh, but it's all going to be fixed at level 25. That's kind of crappy, in my opinion. And I think, again, that could be better served to expand the talent tree system, and the universal talent tree needs a lot of work. The class talent tree needs a lot of work. I think the weapons skill tree is good, but it could be better. There's just a lot of stuff that just needs more improvement. And again, everything in the game is going to be improved, right? But I think right now, the game just feels like it has to be played a certain way. And that's it. The other thing that I feel like has been a little wonky, and I think it's not really due to the game design, but because now we've doubled the server capacity, gathering, which we all know how rare copper is, I don't know what Intrepid's design there is, because tier 1 materials, like when I heard Steven talk about tier 1 materials before, those were supposed to be plentiful materials, right? And then T2 materials are going to be a little bit more rare. And then you have like T3 materials, which are going to be even more rare. And then it goes all the way to like, I think tier 5 materials. So why is it that a tier 1 material feels like a tier 5 or a tier 4? Like I've had people who reached out to me that says, dude, Vlad, I am a miner, and I specifically know a lot of the copper nodes, and I've gathered maybe 9 copper in like 6 hours. Because again, traveling matters in ashes, right? So you have to know these mining points. The other bit of thing that I've heard from, as far as criticism goes, is that what was promised in from Ashes, or not promised, I would say, but what we saw demoed in Ashes when it comes to mining and gathering isn't what we actually have. Let me try to find the preview of it, because if you remember correctly, when we saw right here, so I'm pretty sure they'll talk.
As an example, surveying can play a key role in helping players to identify locations of rare resources within an area. Is that correct?
Yeah, definitely.
So if you remember, there wasn't specific minings that you were going to see. You were just going to see a rock, and then it'll tell you what you got from it. It was going to be like a variety bag of sorts when it comes to mining. And that's not currently in the game. Now, mind you, I actually like the approach that's in the game now compared to this. I think if every single mining node was this, I would be very frustrated as a miner, because I'd be like, bro, if I see one more basalt or one more granite or one more of this or whatever, oh my God, Chaos 1298, dude, thank you so much for the raid. Oh my God, dude. Welcome, guys. We're over here basically giving a critique right now of the state of Ashes of Creation in phase 2. We're talking about mining right now. He's pulling his cock out. And yeah, we're basically just going over like what we actually got previewed in the mining live stream way back when, and what mining we have now. But yeah, I appreciate the follow. Draco Mordecai, thank you so much for the follow, man. Thank you. So, but here's the thing. I would not mind if they add both in Ashes. So there are certain rocks that are like this that you don't know what it is. Like, oh, it's a variety bag of sorts, right? So if I'm a miner and I could physically see, oh, that's basalt, that's granite, that's a ruby, that's that. But then I also have the option to see these. That would be kind of cool. You know what I mean? But to not have, or to basically have everything also be static is the other thing. Because in this live stream, they talked about having the nodes of every gatherable be dynamic, meaning this node here that you see isn't just going to sit here in this particular plot of land permanently. That the node could be dynamically changed to be from here, and instead of spawning here, it might spawn right over here next to this tree. The next time, it may spawn right over here. So that way, bots don't have these predetermined markers of going to point A to point B to point C to point D and just bot their way through the game and gather everything. That's why they wanted this dynamic, like node system in a sense for mining. Got your drop in wrong. Have a good one, mate. Dude, I appreciate you, Chaos. Thank you so much, man, for the raid. So yeah, the current system right now, what we have right now, can be easily botted. Easily. That's the other big contention. And again, we haven't got dynamic gridding. We haven't got the dynamic node spawns, which is all issues, because right now, you knowing, like when the server wipes and you're a miner, you know where all those copper nodes are. And you're just like, man, I want to go to those nodes right now to get them because I know they're going to be there. Let me see. They do change. No, they don't. They may change the mineral, but the spawn is still right where it spawns. And that's what I'm talking about. Every spawn is exactly where it is. Now, it may be a different material, but usually, like those copper nodes, like will be copper nodes. Those ruby nodes will usually be ruby nodes. So I think, again, it's just a matter of like what you want from that system. But I think having both systems, I think having a rock that's a grab bag of goodies potentially, where you might gather 3 basalt and 2 rubies from, right? Or have it just all be basalt, or have it all be granite or copper, or whatever the case is. But I think right now gathering just feels really terrible, since we have like 6,000 people on a server, and we have a bunch of guilds that are super fucking sweaty when it comes to gathering in general. Like, I'm a herbalist, and dude, I always encounter the same people on my herb on my herb trout. Like, it's kind of crazy. Let me see. Peeps need to start mining the granite and basalt, and they need to make those materials matter somehow as an incentive to do it. I completely agree with you. And right now, the only way to really use basalt or granite is from the mayor commissions. And the mayor, like when a mayor dictates a building to be built, you need certain materials. And I know when we did the stone masonry or the metalworking building, we needed I think 1,100 or 1,200 granite to make that building. So you do need granite, but not as often as you see how plentiful you need it. You know what I mean? So I think, and I've said this before with professions, when it comes to making, let's say, a mining pick, right? You know how you need, the 1 basalt mold, you need 10 copper and 10, Western larch, right? Like to make like an updated mining pick. Well, how about instead of 10 copper that gives increase to mining speed, you can make it to where if you do 10 granite instead, it gives you 10 rarity, right? Or it gives you like a different secondary stat on your mining pick. So instead of always needing copper, you can actually use basalt, or you can use granite, or you can use ruby, right? It's like what kind of stats do you want per se on there? Like, what stats are you trying to get with? Now, I know most people might want, increase in rarity. Some people want an increase in materials. And so instead of getting 3 per node, maybe you want 4 or even 5, right? So it's those kinds of things that I think people, want from not only crafting, but to make basalt and to make granite more useful. You need to be able to incorporate those things into the crafting system, which I think the crafting system doesn't really do that well. So you have these 2 materials that are plentiful everywhere, but no one fucking needs them. Like, why? You know what I mean? Like, you need to make those materials just as needed, because also, if people are gathering the basalt and granite nodes, because of how interchangeable those nodes are, a copper can spawn when you do a granite, because we have all these minerals out in the world that no one wants to gather. There can be no RNG randomness into having something that people could actually mine. You know what I mean? So that I think is kind of like the issues there with gathering particularly. And it even happens with herbing as well. So first, you need to make sure that you don't destroy your old picks with the new one. Yes, I think so. This is my opinion personally. I think that you need to not destroy the old one. There's people that actually want it to where you can sell the pick, right? To make them as BOE, to to someone else, right? Like if I made a pick to someone, you get that, you know, and I can do that back and forth. I don't know if it works well with specifically the tools. I kind of like the fact that you have to make it yourself. I think that's cool. The other, and this is a smaller point, but because you can grandmaster 2 professions, I think at least at minimum, you need to have 2 options for clothes, for shirts, the underdrawers, the mining belt or the belt. And then of course you don't need like the excavation tool, like that I think is more universal. But if I am a miner and a herbalist and I want to grandmaster those 2 professions on my paper doll, I should be able to put 2 sets of clothing, one for herbing, one for mining, or one for lumberjacking and one for mining. The fact that you have to switch them every single time is really, really annoying. And let's be even more honest. The fact that you can actually level 5 professions, because you can grandmaster 2 professions, but you can actually have a 3rd that's a master, and then you can have a 4th that's up to journeyman, and then you can have another that's up to apprentice, right? So I think at least 5 slots. But I'll be willing to settle for 2. But if you want to give me 5 more slots for clothes, because again, at the end of the day, if I'm a big econ person and I want to put clothes for 5 specific professions that I want to basically dive into, you should let us. I don't see why not, because then why are you making it able that I can have every single tool equipable? I can have a fishing pole, I can have a mining pick, I can have a sickle, I can have, you know, all the stuff. Why are you giving me laterality to have all of that equipped, but you're not giving me the laterality to put the clothes on? That doesn't make no sense to me. So I think that's another kind of like a small criticism, but I think it's something that has been really annoying for me as a gatherer. Let me see. Most people actually quit. Actually do quit a game when they say so. By the way, he said he'd quit the alpha. I don't think he said he'd quit the game forever. I mean, again, I think when it comes, I don't think he's leaving at all. I already addressed this way earlier in the video, but I don't think he's quitting. I think he's just taking a break from Ashes. He'll come back when there's more content in the game. That's just what I believe, because as a MMO player, I have said I quit World of Warcraft like 17 times. You don't quit. You never quit. You think to yourself you're going to quit. You always come back. That's just how we are as players. Lots of great feedback. Thank you. Greatly, greatly appreciate it. Dude, what is up, Corey? Very much appreciate it, man. Yeah, dude, that's I don't know. I just wanted to give my whole opinion on, you know, the state of the thing, but I really love, I can't wait for the talent trees, Corey. Like seriously, I've been doing a lot of gathering, a lot of the processing side. I have my farming up to level 10. There's a lot of stuff I can say about that too, but I think processing in general, I just want to see what you guys do. Because right now processing is just kind of a set and forget it kind of thing. But I think the more you guys do, the more I can leave feedback as to like, does this feel good? Does this feel bad? But yeah, I think in general, like, the gathering is just in a very rudimentary spot. And I think there's a lot of systems that are like this, you know what I mean? Like, I think my whole thing is that when it comes to how Intrepid has been handling itself and how easy it is to go to the Discord and say like, hey, I'm having this issue or this is going on, someone will reach out to you. Whether it's Vacnar, whether it's Roshan, whether it's Margaret, whether it's Steven himself, or whether it's just a developer. Like, we have not had that kind of feedback in this realm. And I understand that there is a lot of people that don't like testing a game. It's because you want to play it. You want to play a game, and there just isn't a game yet to really be played. If you want to play Ashes of Creation, it's a Korean grindfest right now. That's what playing Ashes of Creation is. But that's not the intent. That's not the full scope of Ashes of Creation. But if you're trying to play the game, that's what you're going to get yourself into. But if you're testing the game, there's a lot more to do testing wise than there is play wise. I hope that makes sense for people. Maybe it doesn't, because you're thinking to yourself like, what do you mean, Vlad? Like, but all I am saying is that the test and what you're trying to do for Intrepid is to test these systems. Does this feel good? Does this feel bad? What would you want to add to the system? What is the system lacking? Is the system, doing what is intended? Is it actually detracting you from a system? Like, what is detracting you from the system? Is it too complex? Is it too easy? Like, all this stuff is valuable data for Intrepid to get this game better, right? Were you talking about NARC when you said they will probably come back? Just got here. Yeah, I was talking about, well, because someone mentioned NARC, and I already talked about that in the very beginning of the video. I personally don't think he's quitting. I think when it comes to YouTubers that always say goodbye forever, or, whatever the case is, like, it's just for content. Like, they're doing that for content. Most people just need to recharge, whether it's whether you're a PoE, World of Warcraft, whatever. You have a YouTuber that comes out and says, oh, I'm quitting this game forever. They always come back. Like, I remember when Mad Season said he was going to stop, with WoW. He didn't. And I love Mad Season. A lot of people, that video went gangbusters. It has over 1 million views on YouTube. But again, whenever WoW starts doing stuff that the person likes, like, they always come back. Like, just how we are as MMO players. Like, nothing bad about it. Like I said I quit WoW 17 times. I always fucking went back. Like, it's a fucking drug. It's an addiction. Let me see. I tried to tell him they were just showing us builds, but he didn't listen. I know. I mean, and again, like, because when you're so emotionally attached, that's, I think, the problem with either some content creators or even some people in the community, is they get too emotionally attached, and it becomes more than just covering a game, or becomes more than just playing a game. Like, this has become like an aspect of their life. And I think this is when you have to kind of step back a little bit and be like, bro, like, you're, and again, I remember when NARC made that one video that was heavily disliked, and a lot of portion of his community on his comments gave a lot of negative comments and said, dude, like, you're becoming too negative, man. Because at that point in time, there wasn't a lot of bad stuff happening in the game. The developers weren't doing anything bad. Everyone was very positive during that time. And then, I think there was like 2,000 people that unfollowed him on YouTube. And what happened in his next video? He changed his tune, and people are like, okay again. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, you need to be able to look at yourself accurately and then just make the right decisions. You know what I mean? And I think it is a right decision to step back, do your own thing, do the things you're passionate about doing. And if your passion isn't in making Ashes content, then do things that you are passionate about, right? Like, that's what I always say. Like, right now, my wife is pregnant. She's in her first trimester. One of the main reasons why I haven't really been creating content on YouTube, and I've just been relying on streams, is because my time is so random right now. My wife, she'll want to just take a nap during the day, or she doesn't have the energy to do something, so I have to help with the baby. And then once the second baby gets here, my time is going to be even more limited. You know what I mean? So I'm just trying my best to, like, whenever I can get online and I can talk about Ashes and do something, I'll do it. But doing Ashes and playing Ashes and creating content for Ashes just isn't my priority right now. It's my family. It's my wife. It's my kids, and I've always, thought this was a hobby, but because now I've made partner on Twitch, my YouTube's been doing, fairly well compared to other content creators, and other content creators are doing way better than me. But I've been happy with it. You know what I mean? Like, I've been happy with it. Like, that's why I still make content. That's why I'm still passionate making content. But I got to do what I want to do. As soon as I start feeling or lacking the passion, it's going to feel like a job. And when it becomes a job, like, you just get frustrated. And who doesn't get frustrated at a job? We all get frustrated. I'm sure Corey gets frustrated at his job, and he works at Intrepid. You know what I mean? Like, it happens, but that's when you have to take a step back. You got to reassess why you're there in the first place, and ask yourself, like, am I still wanting to do this? Am I still wanting to, I need to win the lottery? Dude, my wife was telling me that earlier, because I bought a $20 scratch off and I didn't win anything. But she was like, oh man, I just wish we won the lottery. I was like, I know, babe. I was like, and of course, California freaking wins the Mega Millions. Like, it's like the 7th or 8th time California's freaking won. It's stupid. But I don't know. It's just, you got to do what you're passionate about. And I'm still very passionate about Ashes of Creation. And again, this is why I've told people, if every time when a person tells me on stream, hey, should I purchase this phase? What have I always said? wait till phase 3. More of the game will be available in phase 3. I would tell you to wait till phase 3. But if you want to play the game now, these are the things to ask yourself. And if the answer is yes, then purchase the phase. But I've always told people, like, you know what I mean? Don't just hastily get into this situation. You know what I mean? I'll wait until launch, not gonna lie. That's what I mean. Like, wait till launch. Like, most people, honestly, I would say 90% of gamers don't have the mental capacity to test a game. And that's very honest. I'm just being very, very honest with you. The repeated nature of wipes or testing a single system hundreds, if not thousands of times, that's just not what players are interested in. That's why people get hired as testers, because a tester is different than a gamer, right? And when you ask gamers if they want to test a game, most of the time they're going to go back to the roots of gaming. And testing is a far different monster. And again, I've caught myself in this too, you know, because again, I go in Ashes and it feels like to me a completed game in some aspects. And so I find myself playing, but then I got to remember what I'm doing here. Why did I purchase this? To test, right? And so if I look at it from that angle, like, I can't really be mad at myself because I've been testing. Like, there's a lot of bug reports that I've done. I've seen holes or cracks in the map, or I'll see certain nodes that are like dead or ghost nodes is what people have been calling them. And I'll report those things. And I'll say, like, I'll put on my coordinate thing, put up the bug report and do the screenshot. And that's what I'm there for. I am there to point out the flaws in this game. But there is a way to point out those flaws without being malicious or emotionally manipulative. Like, that's the thing. Like, you just got to be an adult about it, really. Let me see. Don't do anything besides launch if you're not really into it. And that's what I mean. Like, if most people just aren't, their brains aren't wired to test a game. And even me, I'm guilty of this too. Like, I have to step back a little bit and be like, okay, what is it I'm doing here? You know what I mean? And that's it. That's all you got to do. Even though it's money worth, just don't and wait until the big day. Yeah. Just, again, if you are excited about the premise of Ashes and you haven't bought into it at all, I would just come back way later. Because, dude, we haven't even gone into systems like Naval. We haven't gone into some of the big systems of Ashes of Creation. Like, seriously, the node system is a big, big system. We're a play with like 5 nodes. Yes, they added 3 in the desert, but we're not even scratching the surface on the node system. Like, literally scratching the surface. And so this is why I've been telling people this is still like years away from a launch. So if you aren't chemically addicted to Ashes of Creation yet, stay away. But look, right? Look, but don't touch. Taste, but don't swallow. You know, like, I'm just telling you, like, just, it's going to be a different game. It's going to have way more down the road. But right now, I don't think it's the time to invest your time if you're a gamer. I think if you want to test and you want to be like, you know, just testing the game and that's what you like, a thing you like doing, then of course, you know, look at the things about Ashes of Creation, look at my stream, look at Royer's stream, look at the people that are streaming this game and seeing, can I do this for the next couple of years? And if the answer is yes, then purchase it. Right away, make support ticket. This thing broke. Can someone take a look or insert idea here? Wrong way, go to Reddit spam. This game sucks. Fuck you, devs. Yeah, I know. I mean, and again, it's just because, again, I think even the devs are kind of, I wouldn't say immune to it, but I mean, as a dev in general, if you are a game developer in 2025, you have to have a little bit of crocodile skin. You know what I mean? Like, people are going to say some of the worst shit on the internet. They just are. You know, you go to Twitter, you go to Reddit, like, people are going to demolish you, you know? So you got to be able to like have that kind of thick skin and just, you know, take it a little bit. People aren't going to like what you're doing. People aren't going to like what you make. You know, people talk about the graphics of this game all the time. Oh my God, these graphics look like, you know, 2000, what is it, 2004, or like, you know, this game looks like it was done on the PlayStation 2, or, you know, whatever here. And if you are a graphical designer at Intrepid, like, you have to kind of take that, because people are going to say that, you know. It's just, it is what it is. Here, give me a couple of seconds. I want to use the bathroom again. Give me one moment. I'm gonna play this.
Talk to me a little bit about surveying.
Yeah, so surveying is a way that players can check out an area for resources. Players can learn where resources are that are static and that grow back in the same location. But we'll also have resources in Ashes that can spawn anywhere. So surveying will help players locate those resources. So if they're looking for something specific, they can hunt them down. Surveying will also allow players to uncover hidden resources that players wouldn't be able to see with their naked eye. Another thing that surveying would provide is some of the information that we were talking about before, right? Like, for instance, if you survey and inside of your survey area, there's, you know, plants, you might learn when that plant, what season that plant likes to grow in. You might learn whether it likes to be watered during the winter versus how it likes to be watered in the summer. You might learn.
I see that the interior of this rock now has ore in it.
Yeah, see, you found one with some iron. So not all those rocks are just, you know, slabs of basalt. You might find some iron, maybe some gold, maybe some copper. We'll see.
Oh, that is super cool. This one was also iron. Very nice.
Yeah, it looks like you found a little iron deposit there.
And so when players interact with the survey system, talk to me a little bit about what that interaction looks like. What exactly does the survey gameplay layer feel like?
Yeah, so you'd work with a surveying tool, and you set the surveying tool down, and that tool would have a specific area in which it's able to uncover and extract information about the resources that are in the area.
Okay, sorry about that. What would you say, Corey? Regardless of the tone, negativity, positivity, the fact that someone is taking time from their life to say something shows they care in some way, shape, or form. You have to be able to extract useful feedback from all of that because it's there. No, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of people that have, like, you know, again, they get emotionally attached because MMOs don't just, you know, spring out of the woodwork. I mean, scams do. But I think people truly creating an MMORPG, you know, it takes time. Like, you know, it takes a lot of fucking time to make an MMO, and even a bad MMO, you know, it takes time. And I think people just are so severely impatient because, does it really? Yeah, absolutely. Dude. Yeah. Like, it's the amount of knowledge you need to make a game is insane. And then extrapolate that by hundreds of people knowing that same amount of knowledge. It's difficult. Like, I'm sorry, if you think you're one of those people that think it's just, you can make a game in 3 years. If you're talking an MMORPG, even a basic bitch one, I'm sorry, unless you have like the Michael Jordan Chicago Bulls team, you know, you're talking Bulls 1995. I even then I'd be skeptical. Still, it's a lot of fucking work to do an MMO. It just is. And then you take of all the systems and Ashes Creation, what it's trying to do, triple that, quadruple that. Like, it's just a lot. And I understand from the outset it could seem like I'm just giving some bitch answer, but I'm not. Like, I'm really fucking not. I've talked to people that are seasoned in game dev that talking about MMORPGs is the boogeyman in the gaming industry, because to make an ARPG is a lot of fucking work. It took Last Epoch almost 5 years to make that game, and it's still like not even finished at all, right? It's lacking a lot of content, but even what they were managed to do still took 5 years. Thunder Trotty, thank you so much for the sub, man. Thank you. Very much appreciated. Let me see. Oh, speaking of that, I think Steven took enough of I don't know if he did or didn't, man. Honestly, like if Narc's gonna be gone, then like let him take a break. He'll come back when he's ready to come back. I'm not going to bash Narc. I'm not here to like talk crap or anything like that. I just think if he is out to do other things, then I wish him luck, man. I wish him luck on whatever he's going to do next. Yeah, this game is stupidly big, and they have a stupidly small team for the size of this. Yeah. Again, so what's crazy is the team Star Citizen is like 500 plus developers, and even their team isn't as big as their project. Because it never is. Like, it literally never is. Let me see. Last Epoch is launched, and it's a complete game with live service. That's a completed game. What you're saying there is not complete. So what I'm talking about when I say complete is when you go and look at videos of people talking about Last Epoch, they talk about how the end game is non-existent. It's the same shit. There's not content. And what I'm trying to say is there's going to be more added to Last Epoch. Now, is it a completed game in the sense of like, yes, it has a complete, story there. There's classes or whatever. There's still more classes that that weren't there that are going to still be added later. But it even took 5 years for that game to be done. And it's not done, and I know no live service game is ever done, but it's not done in the sense of like where players are satisfied, right? So it launched as a completed game, but are people happy with it? No, because there's no content. That's what people say. Oh, there's no content in Last Epoch. That's what I'm saying. Like, and Ashes wants at a foundational launch level to have content for people. And it's the same thing of what Path of Exile 2 is doing. Path of Exile 2 is going to launch with multiple bits of endgame content. And what was it, like 6 chapters of their story? Right now there's 3 available, and you just do those same 3 again, which is 6. But they're going to have 6 unique chapters once the game actually live launches next year. And they've been working on Last Epoch 2 for longer than 5 years. So all I'm saying is that MMOs take even longer because you need to be able to craft these massive worlds. You need to have classes with elaborate talent systems. You need to have a good combat, which you just try to make a basic grayscale game with good combat. I dare you. Just try to go and make a grayscale using Unreal Engine bot. But your main focus is to make smooth, great, heavy, like feeling good combat. And that'll probably take you longer than you think. So it's hard. Making a game is hard. One of my friends thought it was going to be easy to make an Unreal Engine game. He's been trying to make a very rudimentary game for a while now, also using ChatGPT to help him. And it's been a nightmare for him. But he's not a game dev, but he's been trying, and it's been taking a lot longer than he thought initially. A lot longer, even with ChatGPT help. It's been taking a lot longer. Let me see. I just think it's disingenuous to only compare with bad examples when there's been many MMOs released long before 8 years. So, okay. So when World of Warcraft came out in 2004, that game took 5 years to make. And World of Warcraft has been hailed as one of the best games. So you can say that's an anecdotal experience. So let's not count World of Warcraft then. Final Fantasy took 7 years. Final Fantasy 14 1.0 took 7 years to make, which ended up failing. But then Yoshi P ended up coming over. They took 2.5 more years to basically redo the entire game. So let's just say that Final Fantasy 14 took 9+ years to make. So that's one. Let me see. ESO took almost 7 years to make. Okay, so 8+ years. And let's also make the example too that all of the games that I'm mentioning, which are whether it's ESO, World of Warcraft, SWTOR, BDO, all were coming from multi-billion-dollar companies that all started with teams with probably 300 plus people. Intrepid started with 17. So if we're not trying to be disingenuous here, like, can we mention that too? That you have a team, that you had one person start a company from the ground up that didn't have the talent. That is why I gave you examples from new studios. Okay. So what example did you give me from a new studio? Let me see. Terra in 2011, Arcade in 2013, BDO in 2014. BDO was a small indie studio. I think they were a subsidiary of a bigger company, though, which means they had financial backing from a multi-billion-dollar company. I don't think they were doing it entirely on themselves. Oh, Big Fist, someone finally explained this game. Great head, by the way, I missed those. Yeah, I know. I will be probably reselling them again this year. I just need some time to get my financial stuff in order, and then we'll probably put them back. But my whole thing is that every single indie studio all has different challenges and all faces different things making their game. And with Intrepid, you compare their marquee list of features to any of those other games, Intrepid's features are twice as long. So you have a game, whether, it's Terra or whether it's BDO, and when they launched, when they did, and it took them like 7 years, 8 years, or whatever, then you double that, because the feature list in Ashes of Creation is double their feature list. So why would it be the same? Because Ashes of Creation doesn't have basic systems. If you talk to anybody in the Ashes community, Ashes of Creation does not have basic systems. Everything is all interconnected and very much in detail and depth. The company was established in August of 2010, released BDO in December 2014. Okay. And again, BDO did not have, wait a minute. BDO didn't take 4 years to make. Bang Fist, thank you so much for the follow, man. Thank you. I don't know if you see Blue Squadron, but I remember Blue Squadron saying that BDO took like 3 years to make, and that I don't think that was true at all. Well, what Ashes has after 8 years is less than housing any other game. Arcade also took 5 years, but Arcade that wasn't an indie company that made Arcade. Like, didn't Cacao Games make Arcade? If I'm correct. XL Games made Arcade. Arcade is an MMORPG developed by Korean developer Jake Song, former developer of Lineage, and his development team. XL Games. The game was released in Korea on January 15, 2013. How long was Arcade in development? Initial development of Arcade began in 2006, and closed testing of the game took place over 2 years before finally releasing in 2013. So it took 7 years to make Arcage. And how many people did Arcage have? Because I'm telling you, the only way Arcage came out that quickly is if they had a team larger than 17 people from day one. XL Games is cacao. That's what I thought. Like, look, I'm not trying to argue with you, but all I am saying is that people like to compare like MMOs with like these completed big, you know, teams and multi-billion-dollar companies, and Intrepid just isn't that. I said cacao bought XL Games 2020 long after Arcade was out. How many devs did XL Games have? According to recent information, XL Games had over 100 developers working on their upcoming MMORPG Arcade 2, with a significant portion dedicated to delivering high-quality AAA experience with a vast open world. How many people did they have in Arcade 1? Because how long has Arcade 2 been in development? Hasn't Arcade 2 been in development, or 2 been in development for a while as well? BDO was 1.1k employees. Yeah, that's what I kind of figured. Like, well, I know BDO had a pretty big team, but I'm just saying, like, with what Intrepid started with employees-wise and what they are at now, they didn't get to over 100 developers, I think, until 2021. Like, Intrepid, I'm talking. 8 years after moving the whole game to another engine and after spending 3 years reworking the whole combat system with everything it takes. That's what I mean, because people were like, I remember in Alpha 1, that was the main point of contention, was combat. And again, from a melee perspective, like, I'm playing fighter, like, the combat feels fucking amazing. Feels really good at a base level. There still needs to be some polish. There's still some issues with it, but I'm talking at a systematic base level. The combat in Ashes feels really good from a melee perspective. Didn't Intrepid start with 40 or 50 people? No, Intrepid started with 17. Like, they sort of, like Steven said, like, when they started back in 2016, 2017, they had 17 people like in their team, and they had a small team the entire way up. I think they didn't get till 80 developers until 2020. Like, I mean, they were small for the first 3 years, right? And it's just a lot to, you know, go off of. So I don't know. Who am I getting message on Discord? Oh, okay. But yeah, I look, Intrepid has a long way to go. And the last thing I think anybody from the Ashes community wants them to rush this project. You know, we have seen MMOs be rushed and the result of what that occurs. And I don't want that for Ashes at all. I want Ashes to come out feeling like a completed game. That there's content and there's things and there's so many avenues and ways to go, things to play, things to do, that just feels great. Let me see, they have 120 now, I believe, or close to that. No, they're up to almost 200. I don't know if Corey's still in chat, but if Corey's in chat, I mean, can you confirm, Corey, that you guys are over 200 plus employees or developers? Because I think the last time that Steven talked about it during the live streams, I remember him saying something like that. Like, they had finally over 200 people in their team, 200 plus people in their team. I guess that's what us old hands keep going back to, the OG MMOs. Well, yeah, because you have like 11, 12, 15 years worth of content to play. Ashes doesn't have that. That's why Ashes feels like a base game plus 3 or 4 expansions, because they need that in order to complete. Oh, here's Corey. Yeah, I think so. Sounds about right. Pretty sure that's what Steven said recently. Been a big year for hiring. There you go. I mean, it's, and again, Riot they're making their MMO with probably over 500 plus people day one. So when you have a multi-billion-dollar company that starts off their project day one with 500 developers, yeah, I don't see how a project can take 5 to 7 years. You know, like how are they paying 200 devs with money? What do you mean? Like, they're paying them with money. They're paying them, like, a lot of the bankroll is still coming from Steven. Now, there is, of course, bank that is coming from us, like from the keys and, you know, but all that stuff, like, again, I think Steven has been bankrolling or using the game as collateral at this point to take out bank loans to pay his employees. But if not that, then Steven's using his own bankroll to fund Intrepid. So it's a lot of work, you know, but all I'm saying is like, as far as all the negative sentiment happening right now, I understand that phase 2 isn't going exactly well for people, or the lack of content isn't there. But, you know, the developers, the people that are making this game, you know, they needed a break. You know what I mean? My whole thing is that I think Steven did make a mistake sticking to the December 20th phase 2 release date. But that's why I always thought that day was kind of fugazi. I was just like, I was like, they're probably going to delay it. Like, and I was waiting for them to delay, but they didn't. And I think that came with certain ramifications. You know what I mean? And I will say, I think the server stability has been performing very well considering we're double the capacity now. However, gathering and trying to find certain rare resources, crafting, feeling like it's kind of hindering because of the gathering. Like, there's still a lot of issues. You know, there's like the PvP stuff, there's the duping, there's the PvP aspect of it as well, which, you know, the griefing, people training mobs onto others and everything like that. And there's still some things that are not yet online as far as mob AI behavior and the behavioral trees of threat that isn't on right now, which is why those trains are happening, which is kind of terrible in my opinion. But, you know, all that stuff, I'm glad people are doing it because it's giving that information to Intrepid on what they need to fix. So once the live game happens, we don't run into those issues. You know what I'm saying? I would rather people break the game, figure out the pain points, figure out the things that we don't like, so that way those things are pointed out and people like myself can make a YouTube video, or I can go live on stream. We can talk about it. We can have a debate about it, talk about what's good about it, what's bad about it. But ultimately, people duping, people exploiting, people breaking the game, those are good things. Yes, it sucks to the people that want to play this game fairly or whatever. But if all those things were hidden and we never knew about them, what's going to happen when the game goes live and those dupes become massive? Or now you have not just a couple of people doing them, you have thousands of people doing them. So, and again, I've seen people, like, I've seen the screenshots of people in Discords being like, hey, we're doing this really shady thing over here. Do not say anything, you know, to other people, or like, you know, these, and it's like, bro, like, you're in a guild. Do you know how many spies are in many of the big guilds? There's so many people that are in guild Discords that are just there to spy, get information, and send it to other guilds or even Intrepid. So I don't think how people can think they're being private in their Discords with information. It's like, bro, you're not. People are going to find out what the hell you're doing. That's just a fact. But I think phase 2 could have gone smoother. I think phase 2 has been, at least in my opinion, I've been playing the crap out of it because I'm level 20. I'm actually 21 in herbalism. I've been gathering a bunch of freaking flowers, and I've been having a good time, to be honest. I mean, I've been testing and finding stuff and random weird bugs, you know, here and there. But I understand that phase 2 is severely lacking in what could have been there. Flowers of creation. Yeah, pretty much. Like, that's my experience right now. Just flowers of creation. Let me see. All valid points. I agree on most of what you're saying. The biggest problem to me seems that those completely unrealistic expectations people have and the way they grind through as if this game is a finished game. Well, and again, it's hard to adjust a person's mindset. when you have a mindset of whether it's of negativity or you don't like something or you want to do a specific thing, it is insanely hard to change that mindset. If it's not coming from you, no one's going to change your mind for you. And all I'm saying is people, and this is why, even some of the content creators have just been not making YouTube videos or haven't been streaming as much, because we need to recharge too. I talk to a lot of the content creators right now. People have families, dude. Like the majority of Ashes of Creation content people, or just people in the community, are 35 plus. We are fathers. We have children. We have wives. We aren't just, some balding middle-aged man in their mother's basement. You know what I mean? So it's like all of us need that time to spend with our families, spend with our kids, recharge, because I've been a cheerleader in our content creator Discord of please take breaks, because I don't want content creators to leave. I don't. But if they're not passionate about it, or they're burnt out, or they need some time to get away, then do it. Take some time, take a month or two, come back, but I want them to come back. I want them to come back because I think a lot of the content creators in Ashes are very good people. You know what I mean? And I know this kind of sucks for the people that love to watch Ashes content, but at the end of the day, we're going to be doing this for years. You know what I mean? Like, we're not going to have a completed game probably until 2029, 2028. I mean, it just depends. Like, I don't want people to get so burnt out that they never come back. Imagine if Burns, one of probably the best content creators in Ashes space, gets so burnt out that he just says, fuck Ashes, I'm never coming back. And the amazing content he makes, I'd be freaking sad as hell if he did that. And I know he's not going to, like, I won't let him, but I mean, you just never know. You know what I mean? So we all gotta just, take some time to chill, and even you guys too, playing the game, testing the game. If you find yourself get into like a slump, or hey, I just need to take a month, or I'm going to come back when Rogue comes out, do it. Take a month off, recharge your batteries, because when you get Rogue and you feel recharged and refreshed to go, the other thing about it too is that, guys, I think a wipe is going to happen. And the only reason why I say that is because in order to truly get the Vaseline system data that they need, we need to start back from 1 or 0, wilderness. We need to go back to wilderness. The only way we can do wilderness is if we go back to being level 1. And I know that sucks, but again, you signed up to be a tester. Like, and I know people are like, oh, I don't want them to wipe. I grinded all the way to 25. I don't want to wipe it. I don't want to do this again. Well, bro, I'm sorry to tell you, dude. Like, that's what testing is all about. I don't know. Like, I think you have to mentally prepare yourself for wipes. And I think if they do wipe, that probably won't be the final wipe either. You got to literally take in your mind that your character is very temporary. It could be, temporary for a month, 3 months, 4 months, but then it'll go away. You have to make it again. And then something else might happen. You have to go away. You make it again. It's just what it is, man. And because of that, maybe if they wipe, maybe that'll give you an avenue to be like, hey, you know what? I want to take a break until the next wipe. When they wipe again, maybe that's in 3 or 4 months or whatever. Like, cause I think they're going to wipe again in phase 3. I don't, when they say that they're not going to wipe phase 3, I just kind of like, because again, they didn't delay phase 2, and wasn't that a mistake? I think if they don't wipe in phase 3, that's another mistake. Just saying. Again, I know people don't like regrinding and stuff like that, but at the same time, there's data that comes with that. And I think the data is so valuable for them to get and have multiple data entries. Okay, so this is the data entry for the Vaseline when we wiped and how it was vasseled, what behavior patterns that the players did for the nodes. And here's the second time we wiped and how the Vaseline system came online, but we added more stuff to it. There were more systems we added to the nodes. It's just more data for them. And it's valuable. All of that data is valuable because it's going to lead to a way better system integration, system expansion, system updates because they know the behavior. They know what people are doing. And again, there might be an exploit that pops up the second time around that didn't occur the first time. Like that's why you need multiple entries for this stuff. Like you can't look at it from a gamer's perspective and be like, oh, don't wipe my character. Don't wipe my character. Dude, this isn't a game. This is a test. You got to be prepared for it. It's going to happen. Let me see. I'm very afraid they're trying to please the consumers too much by rushing phase 2 and trying to not make wipes, etc. Well, again, you can't appease the consumer. The consumer knows what they signed up for. This is a test. You know what I mean? And I understand that it's not appeasing to have your progression wiped. I am probably one of like the highest people in herbing on my server. I am probably more than sure. I am probably the highest herbalist in my guild. I did a lot of flower picking, is what I'm saying. And I did it willingly. Like it's all going to be gone. If they wipe in January or February, all that progression is gone. And guess what? I'll have to do it all over again. It is what it is. They aren't just rushing phase 2 though. I don't want it to feel like that at least. I think they're currently getting good data on the economy. I think on the economy for sure. But if this phase is truly about Vaseline and the nodes, they don't have good data on that. Because if Steven had to manually go in and update the nodes and lock them, what data did you get? And the data they probably got was they need to do more, right? There needs to be more adjusting. So we got to do it again. And that's my point. Like you have to, and that's something you can't just do in the PTR either. You need a longer play style or a longer session for PTR to get accurate data. And the other thing about it too, PTR, not many people have access to PTR. So that's another data point that you're losing is as many people. But yeah, there's just a lot of stuff, man. Like let me see. Well, they rushed phase 2 because there's nothing new and even more new bugs. Well, that's what I mean, right? Like I think it would have better served them to have stayed in phase 1 up until like January 6th and then take a 5-day break, did PTR updates, do all the fixes they needed, and then started phase 2 January 10th or 9th or whenever. I think it just would have better served the community and it would have better served the developers because then they wouldn't have been stressed. Like I can't imagine how Corey or Nathan or Josh or I'm sorry, I don't want to start naming off developers' names, but like all of the people that work at Intrepid and just seeing all of the negativity that's happening because of phase 2, and they're on their vacation. They're literally with their families. They're spending time with friends and family, and they're looking at their phone, and all they're seeing is just negativity because of how phase 2 is starting, and they can't do anything because they're on holiday. You know what I mean? Like how disappointed and yet frustrating that could be for them because they're not working. And they probably want to work. They're like, fuck, but they also need to recharge. They need to be with their families. They can't feel guilty for being away from their job to be with their families. That feels gross too. You know what I mean? Like, bro, they are not fixing stuff. No shit, they're not fixing. Well, that's what I mean, because they're not there at the office. And then you have people like Steven, like working on Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, the day after. Like he's been working pretty much every single day this holiday season. And it's just, it's one thing after another. I feel for these developers, man. Like it sucks. And I think, I truly think this wasn't the play. Because I think if you just would have kept people in phase 1, and I know people were already getting burnt out in phase 1. There was a lot of people playing anyway at the end of phase 1. But you could have just extended phase 1 all the way to January 6th. And then the developers would have been fine to be like, hey, we're at the tail end of phase 1. It's quiet. We fixed a lot of the bugs. It would have been a better capping off of the new year, right? Instead, it kind of ended in a negative note, which is kind of sad. I think there was a lot of positivity in what transpired from the start of phase 1 till now, but you can't argue about the issues that occurred. Like you can't. Like they're just, it is what it is, but it sucks. Let me see. I actually think they should keep it 5 days a week and give everyone a break. Well, I think they are going to keep phase 2, of course, at 5 days a week, but I think that just should have come a little later. Yeah, they should have waited. I don't see the benefit. Sure, we got to play, but it feels abandoned with all the issues it has right now. Everyone would have been better served by waiting. I know. That's what everybody has told me. It just feels bad that there's issues going on, and we know that people are away. The developers are on vacation or on holiday, and it just feels bad from a gamer standpoint. It has to feel bad from a developer standpoint, and you know, it is what it is. You know what I mean? Like, we can't cry over spilled milk, but let me see. On the other hand, people like me finally got a lot of time to play play testing during the holidays. So for me personally, I'm grateful for that. Well, I know it even for me, like that's why I've been spending my time just picking flowers and doing the stuff that I can. And because I have to AFK a lot because of my baby or my wife or whatever the case is, like picking flowers has been a really great thing for me because I can't sit in a grind spot for hours and hours and hours because it's annoying to be like grinding. Then I have to go, hey guys, I got to go real quick, be right back. And then I'm gone for like 5 minutes or 15 minutes, or just however long it is. And then come back and be like, all right guys, I'm sorry. And then I could have to be AFK again in 10 minutes, you know? So doing the gathering and traveling the world and doing bug reports when I can, I think has been better served to my time than grinding levels. This is why I think I'm still level 15 in the game. Obviously they let everyone play because people were off school / work. Yeah, of course. Let me see, people look at the game, but it's not. It's been better to start phase 2 with the full dev team. Yeah, it would have been better served to start with the full dev team. 100% agree. Here, give me 1 second. Someone sent me a video about someone else's issues with Alpha 2 or Alpha 2 Phase 2. I've never seen this content creator before. Here, 1 second. Oh, it's not a video. Oh, okay. Never mind. Never mind. Well, guys, I'm gonna probably dip out. It's already 11:30 my time here. I'm gonna go, but that's pretty much my thoughts and opinions on the state of Alpha 2 Phase 2. You know, a very much mixed bag. I think overall, you know, you should have delayed, Steven. Out of all the times for the company not to delay, you delayed every other time, but this one. But I do want to give a shout out to Steven for literally responding to people's messages, still doing stuff in game. I know he probably doesn't have, well, he probably has access, but maybe not the capacity and ability to like fix anything. I know they're probably only fixing like the real like issues that are happening. But other than that, I just want to appreciate the team and honestly give another shout out to Corey, who's in my chat, Cortarian Slurp, and our boy Planetdorf, who are all on vacation and away from work. I just want to say you guys have been doing a tremendous job doing what you guys do. Please keep it up. I really, and as far as a lot of the people in the community, really appreciate the hard work and dedication and attention to detail to the game you guys have been. It really sparks a lot of passion in us to test the game and to play the game and to do the things necessary to make the best game, you know, we can possible. So GG, y'all, appreciate you big time. Thank you for the feedback and entertainment. Much love, dude. Thank you so much, man. Very much appreciate you being here as always. Well, let's see who we can raid. I don't know if anybody is on at this particular time in the Ashes category. Is there anybody else in the Ashes category that's playing? I see who's this guy? I see one person. He has 257 viewers. Yeah. Okay. Mr. Vale. All right, well, let's go and raid him. I've never seen his content before, so, but he's grinding, doing some PvP. He has a dwarf fighter. Ooh, fellow fighter. Got to give my fellow fighters, you know, some support and love. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate you guys from being here. I really appreciate the raid from earlier. Thank you so much for that. I will see you guys on the next one. You guys be safe. Happy New Year.